The O'Reilly Factor is on tonight.
2 American soldiers brutally mutilated and murdered by terrorists in Iraq. How should the U.S. respond? We will name those we believe are helping the terrorists. The ACLU and the BBC head the list.
Talking Points believes the Bush administration has to stop being defensive about waging war. At this point, the new Iraqi government should declare martial law in areas controlled by insurgents. That means anyone can be arrested and shoot on-site curfews. Saddam was able to control Iraq, as you know, and defeat insurgencies against him. The new Iraqi government can do the same, but it needs to get much tougher. The Bush administration also needs to begin challenging those who are helping the enemy. The ACLU, for example, opposes just about every anti-terror strategy. This organization should be exposed. The BBC also helps the enemy by consistently slanting the Iraq war coverage and portraying the coalition as villains. The vile Air America radio network does the same thing. This may surprise you, but I don't consider dissenting from the Iraq war to be helping the enemy. Congressman Murtha, for example, is acting on his beliefs. He made a mistake by convicting the Marines on Haditha before the evidence was presented, but dissent makes America stronger. All right, Colonel Hunt, I think we're at a tipping point here in the Iraq war. I think if America does not stop being on the defensive, and I mean militarily and in the war of public opinion, that we got to get out of there. We either have to fight the war and win the war or get the hell out.
Yeah, I totally agree. We take the gloves off. Military leaders take the gloves off. Your soldiers know what they do. Get out of the way. Politicians, get out of the way. We've got soldiers. We got Mokhtar Sadr with 16,000 in militia. He also controls 32 seats in the parliament. We've had 2 soldiers, as you just mentioned, mutilated. And out of respect for their families, we're not describing all the other body parts that were hurt. Both the General I had brothers killed in Vietnam. It's time to stop this nonsense, politically and militarily. We need to close these borders. We know what to do. We need to leave their dead bodies on the street. And we need to clean this place up and get the Iraqis to clean this place up. Our guys have done a great thing there. They've done an awful lot.
All right, do you believe it's a tipping point, General?
Yes, I do, Bill, and it's a tipping point in the will of the American people. We can't lose over there militarily. It's the will of the American people, and I call them ace Democrats or ace liberals, aid in comforting the enemy.
So I don't understand, General, why we don't have martial law in Ramadi, why we don't have shoot-on-sight curfews, why we don't have action that basically says, look, we're going to shoot first and ask questions later because this is a war, and that's what you do in war. All right, we didn't fight World War II this way. We didn't fight the Civil War this way or any other war except Vietnam. We're fighting the same way we fought in Vietnam, Colonel Hunt. You know it. You were there. Okay? We're not doing everything we can do to win because we got the New York Times and all of these other people. Every time we make a mistake, bang, there it is, and CNN is running with it, and we're the bad guy. It's got to stop. It's got to stop.
Yeah, there's no outrage at all. We'll have 57 stories of Abu Ghraib, which we admit there were some problems. There won't be any outrage in any paper in the country about these 2 great guys from the 101st
no, we're gonna see.
Mutilated.
The line is hard to draw, but I think one group in particular, International Answer, you've tackled them before on your show, the big anti-war, Bush-hating, America-bashing group that organizes all the anti-war rallies and also dabbles in other causes as well. I mean, groups like International Answer have really morphed into permanent arms of organizations that just want to blame America for really everything that's going badly in the world. In other words, the problem, Bill, is not the terrorists.
People don't know them. Is that code pink?
Well, no. That's just International Answer is kind of the umbrella under which all these other organizations gather. I know one organization you have heard of, which is Amnesty International. And Amnesty has done some great work, but also Amnesty International, on a day like today, when we learn this horrific story about what it looks like happened to those 2 U.S. soldiers in Iraq. I went to Amnesty International's website right before the show, Bill, their international website and their American version of it. Not a single mention of the soldiers being tortured in Iraq. You know what was mentioned? Guantanamo Bay and U.S. rendition policy. and World Cup soccer.
Well, there
so
isn't any question.
That's what they're focusing on.
There's no question that Amnesty International, the International Red Cross, which, by the way, has a little place on Guantanamo Bay, and which, by the way, I submit is the reason the 3 al-Qaeda suspects committed suicide, because International Red Cross told the Americans, you've got to give them privacy, you've got to let them tape up their window, and they did. And you tape up the window, you can't see in, they're going to be able to hang themselves. Do you think Howard Dean helps the enemy?
I think when the enemy sees the reaction in the United States, not of unifying to defeat them, but of picking apart every aspect of what we're trying to do there, when those soldiers get treated the way they did, I think they are absolutely emboldened. They're very savvy. They're on all the websites. They watch CNN International and any other broadcast they can get their hands on. And you better believe it has to embolden the people who want to do us harm.
What about John Murtha's dissent in the Iraq War? Does that help the enemy, in your opinion?
Well, I think anytime they can use war veterans, people who've served this country, to then say, look, we're the problem in Iraq, that we're stoking the violence in Iraq, that the terrorists want us in Iraq because we're depleting our military sources, that helps them. I mean, that's a recruiting tool. This guy is recognized by many as a war hero, and yet he's condemning the United States.
How about Jimmy Carter? He signs the torture ad along with the reverends, and the torture ad, as I told the reverends, shows up in the Arab press. See, we told you they were torturing. How about Jimmy Carter? Is he helping the enemy?
Yeah, Nobel Prize winner, right? Criticizing the United States torture policy, which, of course, as you pointed out, that we do not have a torture policy.
Correct. We don't have a torture
in the United
policy.
States, except we're against torture. So yeah, when he went down to Cuba and spent time with Castro and said he didn't really, what did he say? He didn't see the problems in Cuba that a lot of right-wing people have characterized down there. I mean, this is nothing new for Jimmy Carter. Again, the biggest obstacle to world peace for many of these people right now seems to be the United States. We're the problem. You look in the mirror, the enemy, we see him, he's us. And I think that hurts us.
All right. It's a very interesting discussion, because the line on dissent and helping the enemy is a tough, tough line.
The ACLU is rooting for the enemy. They're rooting for the enemy. They're helping the enemy in every way they can. The American Civil Liberties Union is al-Qaeda's best friend. There is not a better friend to al-Qaeda in the world than the ACLU. And that's the truth. Okay?